for being here and your patience in getting started. Welcome to Meet the Disruptors. It's a spotlight on bold ideas on how we get kids moving. But this isn't a sport as usual conversation. It's about rethinking systems and assumptions and how we support kids in moving, playing, and building the foundations for participation in sport and in lifelong activity. Because a huge majority of kids today, sports is actually not the starting point, and sometimes it's not even the goal. Movement and play come first, and that's where the joy of play that Steph Curry yesterday spoke to begins. And the leaders you'll hear from today are expanding the definition of sport in so many ways, and they have created really interesting approaches and solutions, and even built entirely new ways for kids to engage in play and movement, especially those not in sport. And all are focused on what actually works in the real world. And the truth is, they face many of the same challenges that you do, but they found creative and sometimes radical ways through. So think of this as a toolbox of solutions that work, and whether you're here representing a nonprofit, a governing body, a sports organization, a school district, or a funder, consider not only what insights you can apply, but the partnerships you can build to strengthen your own work. So you'll hear some short, sharp pitches from these game changers, and after each group of speakers, we'll explore how these models complement each other and collide. And so I'm going to kick off as the first with my own work in introducing to you Kuul Play. So I am the founder of Kuul Play, and we're on a mission to make movement cool for kids, especially all the kids who don't play sport. And so for years I lived and breathed movement, first as an elite athlete, and then working with the world's best, like Colin, unlocking human movement. And so I've spent my career deep in the trenches of movement science and behavior change. And through all of that, I saw this missing massive gap. Kids weren't just moving less, they were moving differently. And often labeled as sporty, today's youth sports system wasn't designed for them. But here's the bigger issue. For both groups, kids in and out of sport, the fundamentals of movement are often missing. And so with those building blocks, confidence drops, participation stalls, and too many kids opt out of being active completely. And at the same time, their attention is captured by the screens. So if we can't reach them, we can lose them entirely. And that's why we built Kuul Play, a digital to physical play experience that develops the missing fundamentals, physical literacy, so movement becomes something kids can do and something they want to do. So we blend light touch tech with real-world play, but unlike gaming, the magic happens off-screen. Kids race through challenges, solve movement missions, and build confidence without actually needing to be sporty. It's science-based, easy plug-and-play curriculum-designed solution for physical literacy, builds motor skills and joy, and it gives the adults the tools that they need to lead the sessions with coaching science embedded. And this is all backed by data. Our AI-powered platform tracks engagement, movement progress, and behavioral impact. And that gives schools and funders the insight they need to measure access and success. So think of it as an entry point to movement and sport for kids, especially the kids who've never raised their hand for sports before, for your school or your community. And we've delivered Kuul Play in communities on both coasts. And we see kids develop their intrinsic motivation. It solved conflicts on playgrounds and brought Kuul Play into homes, and even given them an opportunity for some to join sports. Here in California, we saw meaningful behavior change, more confidence, especially in girls, and improved movement skills. And schools and parents wanted more. So we're now bringing Kuul Play to more schools and communities, both here in California and across the country. And we're looking for partners to join us, of course. So whether you're a funder or a provider who wants to help reach the huge percentage of kids, build the foundations for being active in their community, well, this is your invitation. And so with that, I'm excited to introduce our next panelist to speak about their work and their incredible program. Laura.
Amazing. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Medina-Quintanar Powers. I am the Executive Director of Playworks Northern California. I'm a San Francisco native and a Cal alum, so I'm very excited to be here today. I work for Playworks. If you don't know what Playworks is, at Playworks, we believe in the power of play to bring out the best in everyone. That means that there is a best in everyone, and we know that kids, when they are out at recess, outside running, playing, whether it's during the school day or in the after school, that is their domain. So we seize that opportunity when kids are out there in the yard to improve their health and well-being by providing for them, creating intentional opportunities for safe and healthy play. What does that mean? We partner directly with out-of-school time providers, with schools, with districts to provide coaching, consultations, trainings, and even online learning opportunities so that these safe and healthy play practices can be in place. To give you a little bit of scale, we in the Northern California region are serving about 96,000 students total this year. 46 of those are at direct service schools, and 164 of those come from training partners. And as you can see from some of our results, these are from our annual surveys, we really get at supporting the whole student. So yes, we get students out moving, but we also help them build the life skills that will help them succeed in the classroom and beyond. And we help support school culture, right? How can play during recess and these transition moments change the way that students relate to each other, relate to teachers, and how the whole school operates in support of itself and each other. We are a national organization, so I'm here representing Northern California, but we are all across the US. And to highlight what makes us unique, I really think it comes down to this idea of every kid, every day, right? For a lot of the sessions yesterday, we heard about the challenges of access to, whether it's because of transportation or expenses or time, to opportunities to play. Kids are at school every day. They go out to recess every day. More and more, there are community schools and out-of-school time programs that are kind of like beacon centers, so then they're also playing after school every single day. And so I was originally going to highlight youth leadership and other pieces, but I think after hearing the conversations that we had yesterday, it's the fact that we meet kids where they're at every single day, and we serve every single kid. There's no sign-up process. So when Playworks is at a school site, every single kid, whether it's 150 kids at the school or 500 kids at the school, everybody gets access to Playworks services. Youth leadership is a big part of what we do, and I do think that's disruptive. But since we don't have forever, I'll just take a moment to highlight that one of the new disruptive spaces that we're moving into is this idea of training the trainer. Very much in alignment with the conversations that we also have been having about coaching, right? And how do we empower other adults that are out there with the tools to do these best practices to support students in the most holistic way possible. So that being said, of course, we also would love to connect. I'm not sure if these slides will be there, but if you want to chat more, you can come look for me or look for us at playworks.org. And we will now pass it on to our next presenter, Ashley Hunter.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ashley Hunter. I am the founder and executive director of Fit Kids, and so happy to be here this morning and to tell you all a little bit more about Fit Kids. Fit Kids is almost 15 years old, and it was really started in response to a problem that I became aware of when I had young kids at the time playing a lot of sports, that many kids face obstacles to being active, and this is creating an epidemic of physical inactivity that's going to have long-term physical and mental health consequences for kids. And one way to address that is just to make physical activity more accessible to kids. As you know, and as both the previous speakers have talked about, kids face a lot of obstacles when it comes to being active. There's not sports programs equally accessible in all communities. Some kids live in unsafe neighborhoods, and at many schools, PE is being reduced, limited, or sometimes eliminated completely. So Fit Kids was created in response to this problem. And a couple of quick facts about what we do. We provide structured physical activity, movement, and mindfulness programs to kids through partnerships with schools, after-school organizations, youth sports organizations, pretty much anybody that works with kids. We can partner with you. And we want to make sure all kids have an opportunity to enjoy the incredible benefits of physical activity. We were founded in January 2011, so coming up on 15 years. And when we provide a program, it includes everything you need to help your students be active. So that's online training. We do in-person trainings when we can. We provide all the equipment that you need and online access to our curriculum and a lot of other resources that are in our online coach portal called Coaching Corner. We also have a library of videos that we make available for free 24/7 to all the students. So we have a lot of content online that's always available. And I think the thing that makes Fit Kids special and disruptive is that we just keep it really simple. We have developed this phenomenal program that increases kids' physical activity levels through fun games, relay races, exercises. We do incorporate fitness movements, burpees, and push-ups, things that we all do when we go to the gym, but we make it part of fun activities, and kids get all the benefit from it without knowing that it's actually kind of painful. Fit Kids is super scalable. It can go anywhere. Everything's digital, and we are able to send equipment wherever it needs to go. It also can be taught by anybody. You don't need any special training. We do training on how to access the content and some tips on implementing the program, but other than that, you don't need to be trained in anything in particular. Fit Kids is also available for all kids, whether you're the athlete or the non-athlete. This program is fun and engaging for all kids. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to participate and benefit from being active. The other thing is Fit Kids is super impactful. I know this slide is really busy, but this is some of the data from the surveys that we do with our partners. I also wanted to share the map of our locations just to see that over the last few years we have become a national organization because we're able to provide programs wherever kids are, wherever there's a need. And that there's a list of people in the lower left corner of all the different roles at schools and after-school organizations of people who can teach Fit Kids. And as you can also see, there's a lot of content in Coach's Corner. This is everything that's available to an entire school or after-school organization when they partner with Fit Kids. This is obviously really important. We've all been here at Project Play learning about how important it is for kids to be active. So these are some of the reasons that I know we all already know, but this is why we're very committed at Fit Kids to expanding our program and making sure that we reach more and more kids. We'd love to connect with you. You can find us online. My Director of Development, Jenna, is also here, so we'd love to talk to you. If you're interested in bringing Fit Kids to your school or organization, we can make it available. And I had a video, but I'm not going to show it because I think my 3 minutes is up. So if you want to see the video, let me know. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it, keeping us on time. If we just take a pause, and we've heard from each of our models in so many ways, it takes a different approach to getting all kids active and moving. And so whether that's through technology, focused on physical literacy, fitness, recess culture, Ashley, Laura, what's one approach that you think that's working really well for you that you think others in the room here might be able to take from and learn from your models?
I think what we've learned is that making it easy for kids to access. So we go to the kids at their schools or after-school organizations, similar to Playworks. We take transportation out of the equation because that is a big issue for a lot of kids. We also are just a train-the-trainer model, so we can make whoever is working with kids able to use Fit Kids. So I think that accessibility in terms of who's teaching and where we're going is really important.
I will plus one what you said. Yes to all of those things. And I think another thing I would add to that is this piece of the youth empowerment, right? So I think one thing that Playworks has done really well is mobilize students to really take charge of what's happening out in the recess in their playtime. So I mentioned all of these things that we provide, and it's our trained coaches or our coach resources that are the core of that. And one of the core components that we seek to introduce at every school, whether we are their direct providers or training the trainer, is to activate junior coaches. So 4th and 5th graders who are out there every single day taking their like shifts, right? Like as if they're like working, facilitating recess games for their peers, right? And so I think that that's a really powerful simple enough strategy that other programs can integrate, so that it's a shared practice. It's not just the adults coming in or us coming in with the things that we know to be true about safe and healthy play, but it's the kids actually taking ownership of it.
Brilliant. And I think from a Kuul Play perspective, one of the things we found working well has been the use of technology, light touch. But like yesterday's tech panel said and reminded us, if it's used well, it can help us, and whether that's with data-driven approach or making it more scalable or designing playful experiences to empower the adults and the coaches and instructors on the ground. So brilliant. Thank you very much for more school-based work, meeting kids where we're at. All right, Khalid, you're up next.
All right, can everybody hear me? The mic's a little low, just want to make sure it reaches. All right, hi everyone, my name is Khalid, and I'm the President and Chief Program Officer at Put Me In. Let me do a double click here. And I don't have slides, I just want to take a few moments to tell you a bit about our why and how we're disruptors. So what Put Me In does is we help kids with parents in prison and jail play sports. We do that because there are about 5 million kids across the country with a parent in prison right now. And as you saw from the stats in the survey session yesterday, when you're coming from low-income situations, you're less likely to spend time at sports and be able to afford sports. Families facing parental incarceration are 2 out of 3 times more likely to be living below the poverty line. And so we're serving these kids that are often forgotten. The reason we focus on the forgotten is because I was one of those kids. I grew up on a farm in Alabama. My dad went away when I was 4 years old. And if it wasn't for my community, I wouldn't be standing in front of you all right now. My community made sure that I had food when I got home from practice. When my dad wasn't there, my coaches were. And I had that support system. That support system led me to go on to play football at Yale, to have a career in consulting and investing in private equity. And now we're standing before you helping kids that were following in my shoes, because I'm not special. Talent across this country is distributed equally, but opportunity is not. And what we believe at Put Me In is that we can spread that opportunity across the world by removing some of these opportunity barriers. We're working with currently about 100 kids across the country, and we started right here in San Francisco. So talking a little bit about how we got there, we started with 10 kids here locally, all accepting requests to get access to equipment, league fees, and funding for travel through our emails, phone calls, and text messages. So it was a really disparate model. It took about 20 hours a week for us to manage 10 families. We realized that model will not scale. So we took some time to step back, invest in technology, and invest in how we're finding our children. So the first issue we ran into was it was really hard to find 10 children. When you think about 5 million kids out there and you can't find 10, there's going to be something going on here. And that all starts with some of the stigma that's attached. So one of the first things we solve for is working through partners, and now we've evolved our partner model to going directly into prisons. So I'll be going into San Quentin tomorrow to talk about our program and go directly to the men and women in there and how we can support their families. So streamlining our enrollment model to go directly to source, meet our families where they are, is our first step to disruption. Our second step is technology. So we're now currently working with kids in 15 states across the country, and I was the only employee until about 3 months ago when we hired Danielle. And going from 10 to 100 kids, we reduced our program administration time from 20 hours a week to 45 minutes through the development of our mobile app. We've spent some time thinking about our user journeys, like what do our caregivers go through on a day-to-day basis, and how can we make it really easy for them to access our program? We built that down into 4 screens, and so we've got a very simple, streamlined mobile app where a caregiver can log in 30 seconds, request funding for equipment, travel fees, and registration fees, so their kids can get in the game and they can have the same access that everyone else does. We're all here today because we know that sports changes lives, and everyone deserves that same opportunity to access those. Thank you.
Brilliant. So Khalid, your platform isn't just a funding tool, it's also a trust builder. And you've used tech to empower caregivers and shift the way we think about equity. And so what's maybe an approach that maybe others in the room here might be able to take from what you've done with technology, but also in learning from your model?
Absolutely. I think a lot of it starts with a narrative and how we're framing our program, where we don't tell our caregivers that we're a charity. We tell them that we're an investment firm investing in their kids' potential. We're investing in their kids' potential, giving them the opportunity to get involved in whatever they like. We're not giving them a blank check for $1,000, but from our model, we're giving them an opportunity to pull from that and then deploy that money wherever they see fit. So if they want their kid to do baseball one season and football the next, they've got that opportunity to have the flexibility. If they want their kids to specialize in one thing, we advise against it, but we still let them have that opportunity. So really giving them that empowerment to use the money how they see fit and empower their kids to be the athlete that kid wants to be.
Incredible, incredible insights. Next up, we have Dana.
Okay, first of all, so much gratitude for Project Play and Catherine and Clare for putting this panel together. It is really incredible. I know so many of the people on this panel and what is going on in the Bay Area and how we can all support each other, including everyone in this room and from beyond the Bay Area. So thank you for being here. Bay Area Women's Sports Initiative is affectionately known as BOSSY. We were founded, that slide's not, hang on, my slides weren't. That's not fair. That slide doesn't have the words on it, but all good. I can put the words on it, and I get to say our mission. But we were founded in 2005 by sports executive Marlene Bjornsrud and soccer icons Brandy Chastain and Julie Foudy. And our mission is to mobilize the women's sports community to engage, inspire, and empower girls from under-resourced neighborhood and children with disabilities. So we have two main programs. The one I'm going to mostly talk about today is our Leadership Accelerator for Girls Through Sports. When we started, we were starting with girls in under-resourced neighborhoods. We've all heard, we all know the power of sports. 94% of women in C-suites played sports in their youth, yet so many children are left on the sidelines of sports, and particularly girls from under-resourced neighborhoods often have the least access, and also children with disabilities. So our programs engage from a young age, and we saw as we continued our programs that we needed to stay with girls longer. Similar to what we've heard is there's a drop-off in middle school in participation. We had lots of stories of our alumni and what they were doing leading in community, and we know about the physical and mental health benefits of participation in team sports, but we wanted to stay with girls longer. So I'm going to tell a quick story of Michelle Ramirez-Martinez, who in the left upper corner started with us in 2006. We've been around for 20 years. We now have all these alumni out in community. There she is on her playground at Washington Elementary School. On the lower left, we were initially only actually 3rd to 5th grade, eventually expanded 2nd through 5th. And then when she was in middle school, we were only elementary school. But every day she'd walk to her middle school and walk by the Bossy playground and did not have opportunity to play in middle school. So one day she stopped by and said to our coaches, "Can I still come to Bossy?" And the Bossy way is, of course, come to Bossy, you'll be a junior coach. So throughout middle school, every day after school, she would come back to Bossy, and she was a junior coach. On her right is Courtney Good, who's now our chief programming officer. At that time, she was a coach out on our playgrounds. Then when it got a master's in teaching, was looking to work in sports, but quickly realized she wanted to come back to Bossy and is now our chief programming officer. Upper right, when Michelle got to high school, continued as one of our high school volunteers. Our model really works within community. So we engage community college, university, high school students, any of us out on the playgrounds. If they can see her, they can be her, and we want these women role models out there on the playground. Michelle then went on to Scripps College, where she played rugby for the first time and was a Rookie of the Year. She started a program for first-generation students to support them in high school. And then after she graduated, came back as our community specialist and helped us build out that middle school and high school programming that we realized we needed. Michelle is now working for a Moreno law firm and is on her way applying for law school right now. If anyone's out of law school, has any connections, Michelle is like an unbelievable candidate for you. And that's just the trajectory. We're actually, this afternoon, I'm going to have to leave early because I'm going to a career networking panel for our students at Overfelt High School in East San Jose. And I realized that we have no doctor on the panel or nurse on the panel, and I can't lead. Sorry, I'm a pediatrician. I was like, I can't lead a nonprofit and not have medicine represented on the career panel. So I'm going to try to just go through this if I can, and not, I'm going to talk through this just so you can see, and it's not working, so I will just play it for a second. I'm just going to play it for a second and move through the slides to see the connection. I'm going to go. The coaches, the connection we have with the girls. This is at game days, so if they can see here, they can be here. We're running programs at schools, taking away transportation and cost, but once a year, we take all of our participants from 2nd grade all the way to 12th grade to a women's sporting event. And you can just see here the connection with the girls, with the women athletes that are there, and then they go and watch a women's sports game, and you can see them in the stands here. We fill up the stands at San Jose State and Santa Clara. Okay, continuing to move through there. We also have, a lot of my slides didn't translate. Anyway, we have career days where in addition to see her, be her on playgrounds, we take them to careers, campuses. Here last year we went to Chegg. They get to see women leaders in careers that come from similar backgrounds to themselves, and then also did some design thinking there as well. I think another just disruptive thing that we've done is long-term impact. Happy to talk to anyone about how to measure impact. We're fortunate. We've been here for 20 years. So we did a study reaching back to our earliest alumni and looking at outcomes. So these are just some of our outcomes, seeing that girls who participate in Bossy, if they stayed in it longer, high school, well, for education, high school graduation was 95% compared to 72% in the neighborhoods that they were in for high school. But also we talk about participation in high school sports. There's a 1 million participation gap between boys and girls, but our girls are playing in high school. And finally, we always end, this was from our study, asking what we're most proud of, and we love hearing the stories of our alumni and what they're proud of. And finally, I just want to end with gratitude. So happy we'll talk more later, and happy to talk to anyone else about how to engage girls, because we're doing it and we're keeping them in the game.
Thank you, Dana. And so continuing on the theme of girls' participation and women's coaching, our next panelist is Pam Baker, and she's going to speak to her work in women's coaching.
Thank you. Good morning. There we go. So, where are all the women coaches? It's a question that has been asked and left unanswered by many over the last day or so, but also including by my late husband, who was an avid coach to our twin daughters and lots of their friends. And every season he tried to get a woman to coach with him, recognizing that as a dad coaching girls, he and they would be better off with a woman coaching by his side. But it's not terribly surprising that every season, pretty much, he would come up short. So nationally, about 1 in 4 youth sports coaches is a woman. And it's a stat that really hasn't moved over the years. And as I tried to understand why, what I learned was that most of the efforts to get more women into coaching youth sports were the same group of women, moms with young kids. And you had all these different organizations trying to do the same thing and expecting a somewhat different result, and we know how that goes. So I got curious about what makes a great coach. And so I would ask pretty much everyone and anyone I could, what are the qualities of the best coaches? And what I kept hearing back was how I would have answered if you asked me what makes a great leader. And so that was a key insight for me, that great coaching is great leadership. And then the question was, what are the other groups of women that we could look to coach? Oh, there we go. And these are some of who they are. We discovered that female athletes, young women in high school and college who had played sports, were interested in coaching sports. And so then the idea became, could we use coaching youth sports as both a way for young women to develop lifelong transferable leadership skills, and at the same time grow the number of women who are coaching sports? So this is what we created. It's really a scalable model that can drop into any community. It starts with partnering with local recreational sports organizations, so Parks and Rec, YMCA, to understand what their coaching needs are. Then we engage young women aged 15 to 26 who have played a sport, and then we partner them in teams of 2, so they're coaching in a group. We have experienced trainers rooted in positive coaching fundamentals who train these young women to be prepared to coach for the season. They get 2 adult mentors who work with them throughout the season, somebody who is experienced in coaching, somebody else who really understands leadership. And then we have all sorts of supportive champions from the community, lots of the professional organizations who come out and support and help with fundraising. And then we do pay our coaches a fair wage. And we do that for 2 reasons. One is to decrease the barriers to entry, because many of these young women would be getting other part-time jobs anyway. And also because we are on a mission to shrink the gender wage gap. And so arming these young women with the tools to be able to do so as they head out into the world. These are some of the key skills that they tell us they develop through the experience of coaching. And we've been at it for about 2.5 years. So far, we've had 85 young women who have coached over 1,000 kids in 7 different communities. And the really important thing is that these young women are the face of leadership to over 8,500 people in these communities. As Dana spoke to, they are being it so that others around them can see it. So happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
So Dana, Pam, both your models are addressing the same problem, but from a different angle. So Dana, you're looking at girls and participation, and then Pam, you're shifting the power dynamic, if you like, with creating a bench of women coaches. Maybe what's interesting here is, where do your models overlap or reinforce each other?
I'll start, and then they absolutely, and Pam and I have known each other for some years. Since women's coaching. Immediately, when we all collaborate. So I remember before I was CEO of Bossy, Jennifer Smith was, and you and Jennifer Smith. So all along, we've been talking and supporting. And our model also is very much about women coaching, because we know that having a women coach makes for more likely that the girls will sign up to play. So that's one of the things I didn't talk so much about, is the way our model works is similar to what you've heard already. Take away cost transportation, be at the schools. At our schools, they're all Title I schools. And our average participation of every 2nd through 5th grade girl is that 50% of the girls in the school are enrolled at Bossy. And how we get everyone and the girls that aren't enrolled oftentimes have other opportunities to participate. So we are reaching girls. At one school, it's 68% of girls are participating in Bossy. And we do see that the girls that participate in Bossy, now that we're in middle school and high school, are the girls that are playing in middle school and high school. And when we ask the girls about what they love about Bossy, it's all girls. That is quote from our girls. And when we ask them, when we meet them out in the community, when they see Bossy, they say, I was a Bossy girl. There's this sense of community, of belonging. We now have coaches that were Bossy girls. And I remember one of our gala speakers a couple of years ago came to the gala and saw the coaches. And she was like, oh my gosh, they look at me. They look just like me. I was looking up to them so much when I was young, and now I'm the person that's they're looking up to. That's such an
important point. That's such a great point. And I think, Pam, you probably see the same in terms of women coaches and the girls that you have in.
Yeah, we do. And Dana and I have chatted about ways to sort of bring our pipelines together as Bossy girls age through. And if there are not enough spots for a young woman to coach with Bossy, that, you know, we're engaging her, lots of shared values. We also coach boys. And so we are seeing that this face of a woman leader is influencing both young boys and both girls. And we think that's a really important piece to add. I'll just add to what Dana talked about in terms of the data around leadership skills developed through playing sports. We're actually going to be generating some data that looks at what are the additive skills that women gain through coaching. So I expect that we'll find some really powerful skills that organizations are looking for as they're thinking of hiring, and that will help reinforce the importance of young women or girls playing as well as coaching, because I can just imagine the leadership toolbox that they'll emerge with.
Incredible. Brilliant. All right, Kevin, will you lead us next? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Kelley, founder of the Oakland Lacrosse Club. And one of our tenets of our organization is be a great teammate. So before jumping into this, I wanted to give a few shout outs. At Oakland Lacrosse, we believe in the unlimited potential of young people from Oakland and that lacrosse can unleash it. And so some shout outs. Robert Marcus and the Oakland Sports Equity Committee, bringing together nonprofits, leaders in Oakland to address the gap in sports. Shannon after school programming, we'll get to the elementary school kids one day, keep pushing. And to Nathan Jackson, PE, leading PE in Oakland Unified, we partner with them to train PE teachers on how to teach lacrosse. And to Lamont and Frankie, the head of the OAL, we partner with the OAL to build school-based teams and run a school-based Oakland League at the middle school and high school level. So what are the problems that we're addressing? Everybody's here to address that no matter what zip code that you're living in, you have access to high-quality sports. So that's number one with Oakland Lacrosse. Second is individualized support for students. In Oakland Unified, a teacher might have 130 students that they're overseeing. A guidance counselor will have up to 650 students. There's no way that those individuals can reach the individual needs of the students. And so Oakland Lacrosse fills that gap. We have full-time employees that work with about 50 kids a year, providing mentoring, helping them overcome challenges, working with them on goal setting, connecting them to resources in and outside of Oakland Lacrosse. And third, investing in public schools and investing where the kids are, building up in the public schools to give kids more options with sports. So we employ a holistic model. The first one is mentoring. We have full-time staff members that work with our kids throughout the year, on and off the field. Includes goal setting, checking in with them, doing temperature checks, connecting them to resources. We have an intensive summer leadership program for 20 high school kids, in which we pay for them to be coaches in Parks and Rec in Oakland. They go to 21 different sites. They work with us for 8 weeks. They get paid $2,000, and they do a workforce development program. We also have academic counseling. Every one of our juniors and seniors has access to a college counselor to help them through the A to Z process of applying to college. And then we're developing our wellness education. It used to focus more on nutrition. We're partnering with Ath Mindset to provide mental health resources to our families, our coaches, our staff, and along with building mental health practices into our spring-based curriculum. Some numbers just on Oakland Lacrosse. We expose 3,000 kids a year in Oakland Unified to the sport of lacrosse through outreach at PE classes. We have 21 summer sites we work with through Aim High and Parks and Rec. In addition, we have 8 partner schools with 14 teams and 240 players that play in the Oakland Athletic League. And so we help to administrate that league, we recruit the kids, pay for the funding for that league, and partner with the OAL in that way. We have 3 core outcomes that we look for in our kids: sense of belonging, building their confidence and supportive relationships, and long-term relationships. We work with our kids from middle school all the way to high school with the goal for them to graduate and continue on to a 2-year or 4-year. And as we talk about disruption, we look at ourselves as a positive disruption. Lacrosse, which is our country's oldest sport, an indigenous sport, but 90% today of lacrosse administrators and players are white. And so in Oakland Lacrosse, we're providing access to black and brown students so they can be able to play and they can be a lacrosse player. Second, we're adding to Oakland Unified, there's a lot of the traditional sports. You have soccer, basketball, and we're adding lacrosse so that kids can have an option to be a lacrosse player. And like the other programs here, bringing access directly to their schools. And third, we're really proud of our public-private partnership with the Oakland Athletic League. And so in this partnership, Oakland Lacrosse takes on the recruiting of players, recruiting of coaches, training of coaches. We help to fund the startup costs so a school can have a lacrosse program. And the OAL provides with field access, transportation support, and public advocacy amongst the school district and funding in that way. And so we currently have 240 kids. Our vision as an organization is to be in every Oakland public school. And in the next 5 years, we want to expand from 240 kids at 8 schools to 17 schools serving 500 kids. I think some of the things that we can offer as Oakland Lacrosse is if you're introducing a non-traditional sport to an area, or also how to kind of work with public school districts on building up programs within a school. So I'll be here for the rest of the day, and thank you for being here.
And as Kevin said there, Oakland Lacrosse didn't just introduce a sport, they built a district-wide league, and they removed a lot of the usual barriers that I'm sure many of you would have faced. Kevin, for folks in the room who might be interested and who work in different sports or interested in introducing a new sport and in different states, how replicable is this model, or how might this kind of model apply to people beyond lacrosse?
Yeah, I think similar to kind of what other groups are saying here, we have just like levels of accessibility. So first, just like introducing it in PE class. Everybody has to do PE in school. You introduce it there so kids get exposed to it. Second, we also often partner with after-school programs. So now it's smaller class sizes, 20 kids, a little bit more personal touch. They can build their confidence. And then third, just by being at the school and starting a team and just saying, you just got to walk out after school to the blacktop or the field. And so it's kind of like that triangulation approach. And I think if you're starting out, we started out when we began at 2 schools. And so it's just saying, okay, these are 2 schools that we're going to start out with. We work with the district to partner, like which school might be a best fit for that in terms of like resources and needs. And so I think it's just kind of like starting with that small stages and keep incrementally growing.
Super, very helpful. And then our final panelist is Colin, and he's going to share about his work with America Scores.
Okay, well, you know, they say you save the best for last. I can assure you this is not the case here. And I think what you're already seeing the themes. I will punctuate some of those, maybe with some nuance, hopefully. Let's see. I think we need to jump a slide. You have to do it. Oh, I have to do it. Oh, good. See, I should have been paying attention. Okay, I got it. All right. So America Scores is the home of the Poet Athlete. I run the Bay Area chapter, and we are now reaching 6,000 poet athletes. Can you stand in front of the mic, please? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Colin Schmidt, America Scores, home of the poet athlete. We are nearing 6,000 poet athletes at 150 locations around the Bay Area. The program is free to families. And it is a sports plus model, right? Poet athlete in our case, but I think that's one of the things that makes us a little different. It's leveraging sport, the platform of soccer, for other things, right? Youth development in general, but in this case, self-expression and things related to literacy. This is especially important for us because we are a school-based model, like many of the groups here. We're trying to take the program to where the kids are. And the schools, right, as your partners, have a lot of needs, right? They want the sports, obviously, but they also have real concerns about academic achievement, literacy, particularly here, where there's a lot of English learners in California. But most importantly, I think, 2 things. One, I want to just have one of our poet athletes speak for themselves. Yeah. So
America Scores Bay Area poet athlete Chrysler Vasquez to share a poem called The Beautiful Game. Now, poet athletes use their voices to express themselves, to serve as leaders in our communities, and to speak up against injustice. Let's give Chrysler a huge round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chrysler Tomas. I'm in 6th grade. I go to James Demon Middle School. I'm 11 years old. And it's an honor for me being here. And it's a pleasure for me being part of America Scores. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And I want to share with all of you a poem that I made. The title of my poem is The Beautiful Game. 6:30 in the morning, it's game day. I rush out of bed, can't wait to play. The sun is shining, ready to sweat. I love this feeling, I love the beautiful game. Like a butterfly on a mission, I fly to the soccer field. Can't wait to kick the ball. Girls on the field, shine like gold. My love for soccer is deep, deep, like the blue ocean. A feeling I love to keep, the beautiful game I love to play. And I'm really good, my coach says. I play with passion, I play with joy. I might not get all the wins, but playing soccer is what I enjoy. Someday I might get fame, someday I might get old. Someday you will know my name, but right now my dreams come true. I am soccer, I am a girl. I love playing the beautiful game. Thank you.
So I think what I love that poem is, just goes Chrysler, right? She's so confident. She gets up there with all these sports executives and cameras and just, busts that poem. She's nervous, obviously, as anybody is public speaking, but she pulls herself together and steps up there and really makes us proud of kind of the programming that we can deliver. The game days are important, right? As her poem just said, it's one thing to bring activities to different places and skill building stuff, but the real secret sauce is the game. In sports right now, right, is apart from just physical activity and things. So to do that at scale at no cost is, for us, it's been a 25-year challenge to try to put all these pieces together. The coaches, the administration, the facilities, the permits, the data collection, the turnover, just the stress and the funding in the environments that we're working in. But again, I'm proud to say we've found success, and it's largely because of the school district partnerships. So I wanted to shout out Oakland Unified again. Nathan was mentioned, but we also have Martha and Chen who run the extended learning program, Yes Sports. And it is, if you haven't heard more about it, it's really leading the way for after-school programming, extended day programming in California, where we have, a head start with funding and infrastructure. But what they're doing in particular is really using sports as the main vehicle to help kids, to reach kids, to bring joy, to the school environment. And they provide, oxygen, funding, right, so that we can pay the coaches and pay the administration and solve all the problems that we need to do. And there's a lot of value add beside that, right, just in terms of the coordination and the relationship building. So it's a complex environment. But again, I would encourage anybody here who's trying to scale is that you need that type of partner. You need something like a school district as a platform for where the kids are, where the facilities are. You bring, you supplement that with coaches and expertise and equipment. But we won't not expand anywhere where we don't have, a committed partner with funding and staff and vision. And we were talking about yesterday. I was trying to think as a formula, there's philanthropic revenue and there's other earned income. I think we've relied too much on philanthropic income to sustain ourselves, let alone grow, and it's too fragile. It's too fragile. We have to have partners, like district partners, public monies, school district, public health, whatever. That needs to come in at 50 to 100% of your direct costs, or else it's not sustainable, and it's certainly not. You're not going to grow. You're not going to scale. So all the efforts around the advocacy, the public policy, the visionary leadership in some of our districts, that's what's, I think, going to help us reach more kids with these joyful experiences with their teams and their coaches and their games. So I just wanted to quickly shout out, I've got Milwaukee, my colleague from Milwaukee Scores, Kate over here. We're operating in 13 cities around the country. Angela on our team, Angela Bailey here in the Bay Area. Danielle Slayton, I just got to shout you out because she's a super partner with Bay FC, really helping us, again, create more opportunities, especially for girls, and connecting for the dreams that these kids have about where they can go, with the sport. So anyways, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. From your approach, you've spoken to a lot around funding. Partnerships has been a key thing there that you spoke to, and the importance of that, and relying on these partnerships and public money to fund and sustainable efforts. There are challenges around that. Maybe would you be able to share with us what some of those challenges might be and how people can overcome them?
Well, it's political in large part. I think California has a lot of advantages with the current governor, with the current infrastructure and investments that people are making in after school. There's a real argument to be made that it saves society money. Arnold Schwarzenegger, if y'all remember, before he ran for governor, he passed a proposition, after school for all. And the whole argument was, if you put $1 into after school, you save $13 in public health and juvenile justice-related issues and more. But it was a real solid argument. He got the proposition passed, which has created a lot of the infrastructure that we can build off of. And then he won the governor after that. So. But yeah, honestly, we're working downstream a little bit. Like we're supporting advocacy. We're finding where there has been successes with this ELOP funding, and so we're trying to just be good partners and ride the wave that at least we have in California, and we're starting to see in some other places as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Some of you are working in the high school space, and then some of you are working more upstream in the elementary space. I'm curious here in terms of, for those of you working in high school sports, how important is it for programming to start early? And are you seeing it for some of the panelists that are doing work in the elementary schools as young as TK? How important is it in terms of participation?
So we're middle school to high school. I don't have the exact data off the top of my head, but I think for our high school kids, probably over 50% is their first time being on a team. And so we get a lot of kids that are identifying as an athlete for the first time, or we're helping to cultivate that identity. So having that experience at a young age, being on a team, especially for our young women, so that they can kind of come up, see themselves as an athlete, see the benefits of being with a group of peers, and so that it's kind of essential there. And then what I think is so key at high school is having beginning level options for players, right? So something that they can start off and not feel like they're so far behind. And so the benefit of lacrosse, it's brand new to everybody. And so everybody is not good at it at the beginning, right? And so they're all kind of struggling in the beginning. So, but I think even if you're doing soccer, basketball, having those development teams and opportunities, which of course we need more coaches, but so key to have that starting point where you can make mistakes and grow.
Brilliant. And across the models that we're seeing here today, there's almost like a tension between going deep and reaching a few kids, and then we'll say some people are scaling and going wide and reaching many kids. Some models high touch, some are built more for scale. Some comments or thoughts here in terms of what made you choose that, or how that works, or maybe some advice for people here considering what approach they might take.
Yeah, so our approach is we go in when we're invited in, because there are a lot of parents who want to coach, and we don't want to disincentivize that. We want to fill the gaps where they exist. Every community that we go into has a waiting list of kids. So because of our coaches, we're able to get more kids playing than would otherwise. So that means we try to go to more communities as opposed to being everything to everyone in a particular community.
Ashley, maybe you'd like to comment?
Yeah, we started very locally and then have grown nationally just in the last 5 years, really since COVID, when we made all of our resources available online and had people reaching out around the country looking for ways to keep their students active while we were all doing distance learning, or even afterwards, after kids were back at school, like for just a great physical activity program. But so we've been able to scale. The trick for us is funding, and we are in a lot of the other states outside of California because there was a funder who was particularly interested in the area and wanted to put Fit Kids there. But the need is everywhere. The need is not just in California, not just here in the Bay Area. It's all around the country, and we've had requests coming from across the world for kids to have more access to physical activity. So while we've been able to scale, we have to do it slowly to make sure we're making an impact, and then make sure there's the dollars to support it.
Right. Colin?
Yeah, I think it's a fundamental question, really, the model and the touch. And I think if you have a spectrum, you have kind of a train-the-trainer on one end, where you're providing the curriculum, the support, and all these tools. And then you have more of like the full Monty version, where you're literally sending in the coaches and bringing everything to the space. And for us, the part of the trick to scaling, like with Playworks and others here, is that we can do both. Like we're trying to do both, because every school district has different needs and different capacities. Some school districts like West Contra Costa or Pajaro Valley say we need people. We can't get enough people here. You know, we have some money, but we need you to help get these people, these coaches, train them, support them. Others, like San Francisco, has a rich lead agency community that's in the after-school space, and so we're working more in a hybrid model with them. Sometimes we're sending staff, but mostly we're trying to support the people that are already there and on site. So I think being flexible a little bit in how you can partner and address needs is critical to. It's been critical to us to scale and reach more communities.
I'm happy to add on. For Bossy, in 2019, we started a strategic planning process. We had mostly been in the South Bay, and we thought, do we want to go wider geographically or stay more local in the community we were in? And we did a landscape analysis looking at all of these incredible programs in the Bay Area, and saw the need where we were in East San Jose was so great, and that's where we started, and we had really strong community partners. Our model is also really based in community. The partnerships are so important, both with the career partners, with the schools, with the entire community, and our model is also based on engaging, as you heard, the community college students, the high school students, and we have deep partnership with all of those schools. So for us, we think about how we would replicate, but if we were, I think it would be sharing our model and working with a community partner that wanted to. I think we really do know how to engage girls and keep girls in the game, but talking to others who want to replicate and do something similar, that we have a model that works. We are not sports specific, by the way. Some people hear about our soccer icon founders and think we're soccer specific. We're introducing, it's more about our programming looks like Kuul play. So it is just having fun with movement and adding in a little bit of sport-specific skills, so when they get to middle school and have the opportunity to join a team, or maybe if America Scores was at one of our sites, they could play on a different day. And we have heard from Boys and Girls Club that 100% of their volleyball players at one of our schools had participated in Bossy. So we know that our girls are raising their hands to play. But again, to go back to the initial question, it's about how we're embedded in community.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's like different needs, programs, models meet different needs in different communities. Something like ours is more technology-based, has an at-home feature, more scalable, and then others have that deep-rooted coach, but that's absolutely necessary in different communities. We might just turn it to the floor maybe. We were going to do some table discussion, but I think we've had a rich discussion up here. So any questions from the audience, perhaps that we can take?
Is this on? Oh. Colin, I was snapping when you were talking about putting pressure on public funding. And I really appreciate that you wanted to find how they enhance each other and how they collide. This question is a little bit about the collision. When you're so much in the grind and you're going grassroots and you don't have the funding, it's really hard. You're working in silo just because you don't have capacity to collaborate or reach out. But in addition, there is competition for that funding. So I'm wondering, what do you have to say about, there are several of you up here that I could see could really enhance, but also you're going to be competing for that funding because you're offering something similar. So what do you have to say about breaking down the silos and reducing that competition because there's so much need so that we can actually grow and work together to make impact?
super question.
I would love to take that because I don't feel that competition. I think we support each other. I've talked to other people here. Actually, Ultimate Impact, I'm just doing a shout out to because I just spoke to someone from Ultimate Impact, which is another Bay Area organization bringing Ultimate Frisbee to kids. And I shared with him, are you funded by this funder? Are you funded by that funder? Like these funders actually want to support more youth playing in the Bay Area. So I think we can help each other. Our funders want to support all of these organizations, and we actually have a lot of similar funding. We constantly are talking about how we could potentially collaborate. I would love to see America Scores at the school that I'm at. I would love to see Oakland Lacrosse in San Jose so that our girls can play lacrosse. Ultimate Impact is going to come and do programming with us. So I think I met someone recently, and I told Khalid that I know someone came up to me to say, oh, this person would be really inspired by your work at Bossy because sports changed his life because he had an incarcerated father. And I'm like, oh, I should send him to put me in. So I think we really are collaborative, as is something disruptive about the Bay Area.
And if I can add that as well, like collaboration's key through everything. And I think it's also goes down to some of your messaging. Like at Put Me In, we talk about how we amplify all these other organizations where we can take a girl from Bossy or America Scores and they're getting free soccer in those institutions, but we can go and pay for their cleats and make sure that they've got a little bit of stickiness to stick into these programs.
Like All-Stars. I'll just also mention a lot of us have been parts of different funder cohorts, which are amazing. So they actually bring us together, and I'm so thankful for Project Play for bringing us together today. So we collaborate.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, I feel the question. And again, to me, it's it's becoming more formulaic, right? And we have to shift. Again, a little less to philanthropy. We all need the philanthropy. We need our individuals. We need our companies. We need a New Balance. We need an Adidas. We need a Nike. And again, we can cover a lot of ground with that. But I think when I say downstream of public money, right, that's a process that is, it's supposed to be a representative process where funds are distributed based on principles and other formulas, whether it be school attendance or other needs. So, they're like, I'll just keep on Oakland Unified, like they get, a good amount of money, and then they get to decide how to maximize all of it, some for scores, some for all the other programs, and they, really build a puzzle, doing the best they can with the resources they have. So I agree we're not really competing, but we all are we're trying to make the pie bigger, and then we're trying to do the most with what we can, and we're trying to supplement it with that individual and philanthropic dollar. But again, if you just rely on that, it's a very tough game.
One other piece just to throw into the mix is we're always thinking about who benefits when we're successful. And so, for instance, we haven't really talked about corporate dollars. And there are lots of organizations that want to do good in the community. And so we can pull them in to serve as mentors or help with various initiatives. And they benefit when not only do they show up in the community doing good things, but also they're helping to develop, in our case, this pipeline of future leaders that they can tap into. So I think sometimes getting a little bit outside, like who else is going to benefit, can be helpful in thinking through other sources of funding.
Thank you. Really enjoyed the panel, and I know my question is really for the women sports. Is it Women's Sports?
Coaching Alliance.
Women's Coaching Alliance. And Claire, I know we will get together soon. I'm Aaron Hort from Project Play, Western New York. But my question was on your recruiting and how you guys really go about recruiting, and then are you just doing it in a number of areas, or is it just a Bay Area?
Yeah.
So just wondering.
Thanks for the commercial. So we just started about 2.5 years ago, so we really have been in the Bay Area, but we'll be heading down to LA thanks to a grant later this fall. So our approach is actually a really important insight that we've learned is none of these young women step up to coach because they think they're going to be good coaches. It's really tapping into the adults around them and saying, tell her to coach. Find a young woman who's going to be a great leader and get her to coach. Once those few start, we joke that we can't get rid of them. They want to come back and coach again and again, and then they bring their friends in. So they're our best marketers. But so, if we're not in your local area and you want to get more young women out there coaching, she really will often need that nudge from somebody that she respects to tell her, go do this, you're going to be great.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, this is wonderful. My name's Sheree with a company called Spring Spot. My question was, as you're reaching out to all these youth, right, the whole conference about this, what role are parents playing in your organizations of advocating, convincing, promoting? What have you seen has worked with the parent engagement piece?
So we did a couple things at Oakland Lacrosse. One, on our board, we have a family committee. And so our staff bring issues that they're facing with players or families, and we have like 5 families that come monthly, meet, and provide feedback there. So it's just like a natural connection, and then those families become ambassadors for the rest of our program. I think in a couple weeks we're doing like a parent night where families from high school share their experience at Oakland high schools and pass that information down to the middle school families that are leveling up. And then second, we did surveys 3 years ago of why kids joined our program, and for 90% of our middle schoolers, girls, it was because mom told them to. And so we're like, okay, we got to talk to mom more, and we got to get into that space. So those are 2 ways that we engage with families.
A lot of it starts with the expectation setting up front as well. For our organization, we've got a lot of first-time athletes, and some of those caregivers don't know how much time goes into commuting and participating in sports. We saw in the parent survey yesterday that I think it's an average of like 3 to 6 hours a week. And so we set those expectations up that, yes, you're getting funding, but you're also getting a new job. And so making sure they know what they're signing up for is really critical up front to make sure they're engaged throughout this process.
From a Kuul Play perspective, a lot of our research was based on parental involvement as well as in the education system. And so because we have an at-home feature, a key thing and an ask for parents was, what can I do with my kid? I'm not sporty. Like, what are they doing in school? Or how can I bring the play and the learning into the home? So by having, an at-home feature, it means that what's being done in the school, whether it's the expanded learning program or the community-based program, it means that parents can and children can do it at home, and that then has a ripple effect, if you like. And particularly when we're focusing on behavior change, we know how influential parents can be as a role model, and empowering them just as much as whether it's an adult who doesn't have a lot of experience in leading physical activity programs, sports programs, something like that can make it more scalable for them.
We have a parent angle from 2 different sides. So one is the parent of the coaches and one is the parent of the players. So for the parent of the coaches, what's really important for us is to make sure they understand the WIFM of coaching, right? What do these young women get out of the experience of coaching? Because it's not the easiest job that they could have. So talking about leadership and whether they're applying to college or jobs or what have you, and all of the benefits there. And when we first talked to young women about the idea of coaching, all of them were super excited about it. And I said, well, what would hold you back? Every single one of them said, dealing with the difficult parents. And so, at first it felt like, wow, that is a total deal breaker. And then the aha was, well, dealing with difficult parents is just like dealing with difficult bosses and clients and direct reports and vendors and so on. And so what we really try to do is make sure that these young women, as they're going through those experiences, because they're not all perfect, that they understand that the value that has and the skills that they're learning in the process.
And I'll just add, Bossy's school-based, and so again, it's participation like any. All they have to do is go home, bring a permission slip, get it signed, bring it back, and we don't have a lot of interaction with the parents during the elementary school program, but then we bring everyone to a game day, and families are invited, and that's when families see their daughters playing and active. And during COVID, actually, when we were online, we did live virtual program during COVID. So then we had the whole family involved. And particularly, I haven't talked much about our Bossy Rollers program. So for children with physical, cognitive, and either deaf or hard of hearing, so physical cognitive disabilities and or deaf or hard of hearing, for the parents to see what their kids can do. And that's the whole message. So we are, the program Bossy Rollers looks just like the program Bossy Girls. They're rotating through different stations. They all have different levels of ability and how they might play, but helping the parents bring that play into home. And the same thing for our girls. I mean, we hear on our parent surveys all the time that their girls are now helping them be more active in their homes, and they're like the health coach in the home.
And I can't believe I forgot to say this one. It's food. So we just make sure when we have something for parents, they get a dinner for them and their kids. We bring food, brings community together, and that's like a staple at everything we do. So.
Amazing. To wrap this up, amazing discussion up, a few kind of common threads that are kind of coming to light is funding definitely is a challenge. I think it's a challenge for everyone here in the room. What I think is unique in some ways about this group of panelists is they're all addressing it at different punctuations where kids are in a child's day. So whether it's before school, during school, some are curriculum aligned, after school, recess, we're seeing high school sports, we're seeing kids physical literacy, fitness. And the key thing here is collaboration. Because if we go back to child-centered, I always think about child-centered and the development. We all want kids to be active for life, and great sport will be a huge way for that through. But one of the gaps that I've often seen is there's energy leakages along the way. So a child might get an exposure here, but that continuity along the way, which is the collaboration and how we can help each other. And it doesn't always make sense that all solutions line up together, but in different communities, different needs, but where you can knit together. So think about the child's transition through the day from in the morning time, right through recess, right through during after school or during curriculum time, sports time afterwards. You know, is there an opportunity for a child who never experienced sports in elementary school to then join a school sports team or lacrosse or exposure to women's coaching? So really thinking about bigger picture and how we're not as much competing, but we're supporting and amplifying, and ultimately the child is the beneficiary in so many ways. I really want to thank all of the panelists here. They've been absolutely tremendous in being able to put this together and share all of their incredible work in what they're doing, and I hope it's been impactful for you all. Everyone is here available afterwards for questions, and thank you all for being such a great audience and supportive. Thank you all.